All right, good morning, freshmen. Happy Monday. This week we are going to spend about a week focusing on our final unit that we're going to do this year, and that is exposition. So we are just going to take a week to look at expository writing, understand better what it is. You have a note sheet and an assignment to fill out with this lesson as well. And then on Monday, a week from today, you will get your very final essay assignment for this class over exposition. So this week you just have to work on the note sheet and the assignment. A week from today on Monday, you are going to get your very final essay prompt, and that is going to be your last thing that you need to do for this class for freshman English. So that's kind of exciting. So just looking at exposition, I want to go over a few things today as just a brief introduction. Expository writing is a kind of writing that provides a description or an explanation for an audience. So it's different from argumentative writing because you're not trying to prove a point, you're not trying to win an argument, you're not trying to kind of settle a debate, you're just explaining something. So usually expository writing is going to focus more on like the history of something or explaining a specific aspect of something. Maybe it's an exposition on your life and you're going into detail about things that have happened. You're not trying to convince your audience of anything. You're not trying to write a story. What you're trying to do is describe and explain something in detail to help the audience better understand it. So if you've ever read an overview of something, an instruction manual, if you've ever read like a history of music, if you've ever read any kind of like political piece that it's explaining discourse, anything like that, that's all expository writing. As long as it just serves to explain and describe, then it falls under exposition. If it starts to kind of try to convince you of something, if it starts to kind of argue for something, then it moves into argumentative writing. But expository writing just aims to explain. So like I said, autobiographies can be expository, biographies of other people's lives can be expository. Maybe you're just reading about like the history of music, that's exposition. Maybe you're reading a description on how, the best kind of recipes or good cooking strategies, something like that, that's exposition. Expository writing can have a huge range, and it can include anything from like instruction and basic understanding to really in-depth analysis of something. So that's kind of what we're going to focus on this week, is exposition, kind of looking right at the middle. Just what does basic exposition look like when you see it in writing in English. So I'll give you in classroom through this week a couple of examples of expository writing for you to look at to kind of help you better understand it. I would highly suggest reading those examples if you are having a hard time understanding exposition fully. But like I said, for the most part, think exposition, explain, those sound really similar. Expository essays just aim to explain something. So there's several different elements of exposition, several things you have to look for. Similar with poetry where there's a ton of different elements, exposition has a bunch of its own elements. So there's always a main idea, which we will talk more about that tomorrow, but basically the main idea is the centerpiece of the expository essay, what it's about. There's always an audience and a purpose. As with any kind of writing, you have someone who's going to read it, so you're writing for a specific audience, and you have a purpose, you have a reason why you're writing it. You have to have evidence. If you are trying to explain or describe something, you have to show that you understand it enough to be the one explaining it. So that's going to include bringing in statistics or bringing in quotes from maybe an interview or something like that, bringing in personal experience, stuff like that. There's always evidence to prove that you know what you're talking about and to show that your explanation and your description is valid. Specific language and style choices. Similar to with poetry, you have specific diction and specific syntax that you want to use in exposition to do it well. There's also a huge amount of expository strategies that can be utilized to help make your expository essay better. So that's going to be things like using specific examples, analyzing, comparing and contrasting ideas, cause and effect kind of visuals, descriptive imagery, stuff like that. So all of these things are different elements of exposition, and they help make your expository essay better because you're including all of them to kind of better explain something that's going on. So that's where I'm going to stop today, just kind of a brief overview of what exposition is. Why we read about it and why we talk about it in English is basically because it's a kind of writing that you are most likely to be exposed to, no matter what you choose to do, whether you go to college or not, no matter what career choice you choose to pursue. Expository writing is everywhere and has a lot of purposes. So it's important that you have a basic grasp and basic understanding of what it is in order to kind of better function and better understand that when you utilize it as a member of society. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. You'll do a lot more writing with exposition in your coming years of high school, but it's important that before you finish your freshman year, you have that basic groundwork, that baseline understanding in order to do well later. So that's all for today. I will post another video tomorrow, and until then, I love you guys. I miss you. I hope that the year is winding down well for you.